On June 25, 1950, the North Korean army, equipped with Soviet tanks and warplanes, launched a full-scale invasion of South Korea. They captured Seoul in just 3 days, and within a month had seized control of the entire country, with the exception of the Busan Perimeter. The line that was drawn to divide you was about to become a battleground, and the real war was just beginning.
You are a Korean civilian. It's early morning, June 25th, 1950. You wake up not to a sound, but to a feeling. The ground is shaking. You rush to the window and see it, the low, grinding roar of tanks. The street, just moments ago a place of peace, is now filled with smoke and fire. People are running, screaming. Gunfire echoes in the distance. This is no drill. This is no rumor. This is war. You grab your daughter's hand. Your only thought is survival. You must get to the Han River. You join a desperate flow of civilians, all pushing towards the bridge, your only hope. The road is a river of frantic bodies. The tanks are now on your street, rolling down the main avenue. Soldiers are shouting orders. You are so close. You can see the bridge, its chaotic mass of people and vehicles illuminated by the pale light of the moon, a fragile beacon of hope in the dark. Then, at 2:30 a.m. on June 28th, a thunderous explosion shatters the night. Not from the enemy, from your own army. You are on the very edge of the bridge. A wall of fire, smoke, and light erupts in front of you. You can't see anything, but you hear the screams, the roar, the terrible sound of twisting metal and breaking concrete. And then, silence. A ringing in your ears. You are alive, but you are trapped. The roar of the enemy's tanks grows louder behind you. You hear desperate splashes in the water below. People are jumping. You know what they're doing. They're trying to swim across the vast river. You know they will not make it. You stand there, in the dark, clutching your daughter's hand. You can't see the enemy, but you can hear them. You can't see the destruction, but you can feel the warmth of the fire. You and your little girl are trapped between fire and water.
You are a U.S. Marine landing behind enemy lines, September 15th, 1950. You're on a landing craft. The sea is rough, the sky is gray, the silence is unbearable. You grip your rifle, your boots already soaked. The mud is thick, pulling at your legs. You were told this plan was madness. The tides are too unpredictable. The seawalls are too high. Even your own commanders call it insane. But General MacArthur insisted. We shall land at Incheon. You jump into the water. It's cold. It's dark. You can't see the shore. You can't see the enemy. You don't know if you're walking into victory or into a grave. The landing begins. You scale the seawalls. You breach the defenses. You fight through alleyways and warehouses. Every corner could be an ambush. Every shadow could be your last. But the enemy is caught off guard. They never expected an attack here. Not in Incheon. Not behind their lines. Not like this. You push forward, inch by inch, street by street. You take the port, you secure the city, you trap thousands of North Korean troops between your position and the Busan Perimeter. You've turned the tide of the war. But it doesn't feel like victory yet. You see civilians hiding in basements, children crying in the rubble. You see buildings burning. You smell death in the air. You never forget that moment, knee-deep in mud, heart pounding, unsure if you'd ever see the sun again. But a voice in your head asks, would you trust a plan so risky that even your commanders call it madness, if it meant turning the tide of war?
You are a UN soldier advancing toward the Yalu River. It's October 1950. You fought your way up the peninsula. Seoul is back in friendly hands. The enemy is in retreat. You are part of the UN advance, pushing north. The air is colder, the terrain is harsher, but morale is high. You believe victory is near. You cross the 38th parallel. You pass Pyongyang. You see North Korean troops surrendering. You are told to keep moving, toward the Yalu River, toward the Chinese border. But you've heard the warnings from Beijing, from Moscow, even from your own intelligence officers. Do not cross the line. Still, the orders come. Advance, secure the border, end the war. You march through valleys and mountains. You sleep in frozen tents. You eat cold rations. You wonder if anyone truly understands what lies ahead. You see signs of movement, strange tracks in the snow, whispers of Chinese troops across the river, but no confirmation, no proof. You tell yourself it's just rumors, just fear. You are wrong. You didn't see the hundreds of thousands of Chinese troops hidden in the mountains, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. On October 25th, they do. The first wave hits hard, swift, precise, devastating. You are caught completely off guard. You fall back, you push forward, you regroup, but the mountains are no longer silent. In late November, the second wave crashes down. The Battle of Chosin Reservoir begins. The cold is unbearable. The enemy is everywhere. You fight in sub-zero temperatures. You watch men freeze in their foxholes. You see entire units surrounded. You are no longer advancing. You are surviving. The retreat begins, one of the most grueling in U.S. military history. You fight your way south, step by step. You leave behind equipment, wounded, and your belief that the war was almost over. You came to end a war. Now you realize you just woke up a sleeping giant, and the war is only beginning.
You are a U.S. infantryman in a freezing winter. It's late November, 1950. You're deep in North Korea, near the Chosin Reservoir. The cold is unbearable. Your breath freezes in the air. Your rifle jams. Your boots crack from the frost. You came to liberate a country. Now you're just trying to survive the night. You see shadows moving in the mountains. Silent, swift, camouflaged in white, they descend like an avalanche. You are surrounded, cut off. The enemy attacks in waves, screaming, charging, relentless. You fight through the night. You fire until your fingers bleed. You throw grenades with frozen hands. You watch your friends fall. You drag the wounded through snowbanks. You pray the cold kills you before the enemy does. There is no front line, no safe zone, just chaos. You hear stories of entire units wiped out, of men freezing in their foxholes, of bugles echoing through the valley, each blast announcing another wave. You came to end a war, but now you're just trying to survive the hour. Then the order comes. Retreat. Break out. Escape. You fight your way south, through ambushes, through blizzards, through hell. You carry the wounded. You burn supplies, and you learn the terrible cost of the war. You reach Hungnam. You board a ship. You look back at the mountains and wonder how you made it out alive. You came to liberate a country. Now you know what it means to survive.
You are a war correspondent in 1951. You've been in Korea for months. You've watched the front lines shift like tides, surging, collapsing, reforming. But now, everything has stopped. It's 1951. The war has settled into a brutal, positional grind. Foxholes, hilltop bunkers, artillery duels, patrols that end in blood. You write about battles that barely move the map. You report on victories like Heartbreak Ridge, hundreds of lives lost for a single hill. You walk through muddy outposts carved into frozen terrain. You interview soldiers who've stopped asking when the war will end. You see the same faces, the same wounds, the same silence. The front is locked near the 38th parallel. Negotiations begin and stall. Ceasefires are proposed and broken. You write about peace talks that circle endlessly, about diplomats who speak of compromise while soldiers die in the cold. You send dispatches back home, but you wonder if anyone still reads them. The urgency is gone. The war has become background noise. You meet South Korean troops launching counterattacks, brave, determined, but exhausted. You watch American units dig in for another winter. You hear Chinese bugles echoing through the hills, a sound that means chaos is coming. You came to report a war. Now you realize you're just reporting the same day over and over again. You write about hope, but it feels dishonest. If every day looked the same and peace never came, would you still believe in victory?
You are a Korean refugee. The bridge is a smoldering ruin behind you. With nowhere else to go, you join a new river of people, a silent, desperate march south. You walk with your family for weeks. You sleep in ditches. You eat what you can find. You see a sea of faces, all moving in one direction, all with the same look of exhaustion and fear. The road is a mix of mud, dust, and discarded memories. And then you arrive. The city is bursting at the seams. Every street, every building, every patch of grass is filled with people. The noise is a mix of crying, talking, and a desperate hope. You made it, but you are not safe. This is Busan, the last safe haven. Behind you, the sea. In front of you, the enemy. You are not just a refugee. You are the last breath of a nation.
You are a South Korean soldier fighting for survival. It's August 1950. You've retreated as far south as you can go. Behind you, the sea. In front of you, the enemy. You're on the last patch of free Korean soil. This is the Busan Perimeter, a narrow horseshoe of land wrapped around the port city of Busan. If this line breaks, your country disappears forever. You are exhausted. For weeks, you've been marching, fighting, and sleeping in ditches. You've seen friends die, you've buried civilians, and you watched your home and soul fall. Now, with nowhere left to run, you dig trenches with your bare hands. The North Korean army is closing in. They are better armed, better supplied, and they are relentless. You fight with everything you have: a rifle, a grenade, sometimes just your fists. You're not fighting for glory. You're fighting so your country still exists. You hear rumors of American reinforcements, but all you see is mud, blood, and fire. You hold the line at Daegu. You repel attacks at the Noktong River. You discover the atrocity of Hill 303, the hill where North Korean forces massacred U.S. prisoners of war in August 1950. You are not just a soldier. You are a wall, a shield, the last breath of a nation. The days blur. The nights are worse. You eat what you can find. You write letters you may never send. And then you hear it, the rumble of tanks. Not the enemies. The sound is different. It's American. You see them arriving. UN forces, air support, reinforcements. You feel something you haven't felt in weeks. Hope. Together, you push back, inch by inch, hill by hill. The question never leaves your mind. If losing this ground meant losing your nation, how far would you go to hold the line?
You are a negotiator at Panmunjom. It's July 27, 1953. You sit at a long table inside a small building in Panmunjom. The air is heavy. The room is silent. The war has lasted 3 years. Over 2 million are dead, millions more displaced. And now, you are here to stop the fighting. You look across the table. North Korean officers, Chinese delegates, UN representatives. No one smiles. No one speaks unless necessary. This is not a celebration. It's a compromise. You signed the Korean Armistice Agreement. You know what it means and what it doesn't. It's not peace. It's a pause. A ceasefire. A line is drawn across the peninsula. The demilitarized zone, 250 kilometers long, 4 kilometers wide. A scar that splits Korea in two. You know this line will not heal. It will harden. Families are separated, cities are divided, soldiers remain on alert. The war is over, but the tension is permanent. And yet, one chair remains empty. South Korea refuses to sign. President Syngman-rhee opposes the ceasefire, demanding the war continue until Korea is reunified. His vision is victory, not stalemate. You step outside. Reporters gather. Cameras flash. But you don't feel relief. You feel the weight of unfinished business. You think of the soldiers who died for a war that ends without a winner. You think of the civilians who lost everything. You think of the children who will grow up beside barbed wire, never knowing why. You wonder if history will remember this day as an end or just a pause between battles. If the fighting stopped but the pain didn't, can you really call it peace?
Decades have passed. You've grown old. Your hair is gray. Your hands are slower. But one thing hasn't changed. Your sister is still on the other side of the border. You were children when the war began. You ran in opposite directions. You thought it would be days, maybe weeks. But the days became years. The years became a lifetime. You live in South Korea. She's in the north, just a few kilometers apart, but unreachable. You've written letters that were never delivered. You stared across the DMZ wondering if she's still alive, if she ever got married, if she ever forgave you for leaving. And then, a miracle. You're selected, a lottery, part of a rare inter-Korean reunion program. You cross into North Korea, escorted by officials. You enter a resort near Mount Kumgang. You sit at a table. And then she walks in. You recognize her eyes, her voice, her smile. You hold her hand like you're holding time itself. You have 3 days. No phone calls, no letters, no promises. Just hours to fill the silence of 60 years. You tell her everything about your children, your husband, your regrets. She tells you about rationing, about fear, about how she never stopped waiting. And you are not alone in this room. Around you, other families embrace, weeping, touching faces they haven't seen in decades. Mothers clutch sons, brothers hold sisters tight. 60 years of silence broken in stolen hours. And then it's over. You hug her one last time. You don't know if you'll ever see her again. You return to the south. She returns to the north. The border closes. The silence returns. You sit in your home. You look at her photo, now placed beside the faces of strangers who shared your miracle, your fleeting reunion. And you ask yourself, if your loved ones were just across the border, but unreachable forever, would the war ever truly be over for you?